Welcome back, everyone. I'm T,
And I'm Nessa.
and together we are the Casual Fangirls. We are closing out our coverage of HBO's House of the Dragon with the season finale, and my heart just can't take it. I can't believe we are going to have to wait at least a year before the greens and the blacks are on our screens again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nessa, usually I'd have a question for you that alludes to something we see happen in the episode, but honestly, this episode was so serious. And kind of sad that I couldn't find anything to laugh about, honestly. Oh, actually, let's flash our shirts. So let's show the audience what kind of shirt you got on today.
So right now I have on the My Patronus is a Direwolf sweatshirt. One of my faves, one of my favorite crossover between two amazing fandoms. What you got on today?
I have on an actual House of the Dragon shirt with the original Targaryen symbol.
Love that.
Not the new one that idiot Aegon came up with, but we'll talk about that later.
We will get to that for sure.
So yeah, it's let's dive into it. As always, before we dive into the season finale entitled The Black Queen, which we are, Nessa, what did you think of this episode?
It was definitely very intense. It was great to see this pretty much like sister episode to episode 9. Mm-hmm. And how the blacks are dealing with everything versus how the greens dealt with everything. So I enjoyed seeing the similarities and the differences that were going on. And it just had me like at the edge of my seat. And I loved all of it. I loved the performances. I thought it was great. I thought it was amazing TV. What about you? What did you think?
I thought it was really sad. I felt at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, I felt this profound sense of just like loss and sadness. And I think part of it was what happened in the show. And we will talk about that. We lost a couple of people, a couple of characters in the show, and some that we literally never even got a chance to meet. But also like it's the end of the season. And I think we could talk about this at the end too, like how we feel about the overall season and the show and everything. But House of the Dragons brought back to life a fever in me to like rush to my TV on Sunday nights and watch really, really good TV. And I think in that last shot of Rhaenyra, looking at the screen, not at the screen, kind of looking past the screen, but you get what I'm saying. I was just like, oh man, it's over.
Yeah.
Now I gotta wait.
Yeah. When those credits rolled, I was so mad. I was screaming at the screen. I was like, no, it can't be done. Just give us one more scene. Like I just needed more.
Yeah, it was definitely sad to me. So before we get into it and talk about all the plot points of this episode and the season finale of House of the Dragons, House of the Drones, what is that?
I thought you were gonna say House of the Drunks. So I was like, more wine.
House of the Dragons season 1. Nessa, can you please give them the final spoiler warning of the season?
Oh, don't use it like that. All right, guys. So you know what time it is. This is our spoiler warning. After this point, we will be talking about plot points, details, all that stuff about not just episode 10, but all of the episodes leading up to this of House of the Dragon. Game of Thrones, the books, the TV show are on the table. Fire and Blood is on the table, even though we have not read it. But that don't mean we don't be knowing stuff, right?
Because we know stuff.
We hear stuff in the multiverse. So everything is pretty much on the table related to the show. You are more than welcome to kick it with us as we discuss this if you have not seen these things. However, I do suggest at least watch episode 10 and then come back and join us. Let's move further. And T, take it away.
I will do that. But first, actually, quick question. Can you imagine if someone actually started with episode 10?
That'd be pretty wild.
It would be pretty wild.
But there's some...
What is going on?
I heard of someone at one point who enjoyed watching series from like the last to the first. I forgot where I heard that from. I feel like it was on some podcast somewhere or something like that. And I was like, that's an interesting thought to work backwards. Not something I would do, but hey, teachers.
It feels like a lot of extra work. Maybe they're just like piecing together puzzles. Anyways, let's dive into the Black Queen. The episode starts with a shot of the infamous painted table at Dragonstone, which we've seen in the Game of Thrones series. Mm-hmm. The table that's kind of a pop-up map of Westeros and used for planning battles and war. Luke is standing around as his mom comes to console him and his fear of being inadequate as the future Lord of the Tides. Rhaenys arrives on Dragonback to relay the news that Viserys has died and the Greens usurp the throne. It's right then that Rhaenyra goes into premature labor. Let's pause there.
Yeah.
Because this is a quick scene, but I think it absolutely obviously sets the stage for the entire episode. So one thing I love about this is that we are picking up exactly where we left off in the previous episode. The last shot we saw was Rhaenys flying away on Meleys. And we're picking up here with the moments just before Rhaenys arrives at Dragonstone, as we thought that she'd be going straight there, and she did. So I don't have this on the outline, but I did want to call out really quickly just, the continued character development of Luke and how thoughtful he is about his place within this family, within this world, and how, at this point in time, they still don't know the status of Corlys as the Lord of the Tides. He knows that he's next in line, especially after 2 episodes ago. And he's feeling very inadequate. He has strong imposter syndrome. Like, how can I be Lord of the Tides and I get seasick on a boat, Mom? Like,
and I have to say, what I took away from that scene is that Rhaenyra is a great mom.
Oh, that's exactly what I was leading to. Yeah.
The way she kind of tries to ease his mind and is like, look, honestly, a lot of people are never really ready to rule. It's just, this is the life that you have been given. Mm-hmm. And at some point you have to step up to the plate, and this is how it's going to be. But she does it with such compassion and such empathy that you're just like, dang, girl, okay, I can't be too mad at you. Like, you really out here parenting, as opposed to Alicent when Aegon is like, do you love me, Mom? And she's like, you imbecile. Like, so, I think the boys are just a testament to how great Rhaenys has been parenting.
Rhaenyra. And I want to add, yeah, I know, I'm going to do that. I'm awful with names. I want to add too that, like, just in the way she communicates, like, and I don't really like comparing mothers against each other because parents have different styles. But if you think back a couple of episodes for when Alicent caught Aegon in the window showing his business to the entire kingdom,
yeah,
and she's like, "Hey, get yourself together. You're going to be king, and Rhaenyra's going to have to kill you in order to do all this stuff." Yada yada yada. He obviously is showing a similar level of trepidation and imposter syndrome about this position that his parents want him to take. Mm-hmm. And Alicent's response to that was, get it together. Like, yeah. We'll stop. Whereas Rhaenyra's response was, you'll be okay. And more importantly, I'm going to help you.
Yes.
Not get that. Year one scene did we see Alicent say, I'm going to be there to support you. Even though we know that that's in her brain because of the whole, we have to guide the men in our lives. But she's not communicating that with the people around her.
Rhaenyra got that gentle parenting going on, is what it is. But one part in that I was so upset about is when she was like, I'm going to help you the way my dad did. And I was like, did he? My dad trained me for this position. Did he? Because I don't think so. But whatever.
I mean, she watched him being his cupbearer, but I don't know if that was like, you'd call that training. In any event, Daemon gets right to it, and he says what everyone watching last week's episode said, why didn't you say Dracarys?
Yeah.
What is going on? How are you alive right now? And they are still alive. What is happening? And I love that Daemon, like, from the jump was just like, excuse me, so they're dead, right? No.
He wanted answers. My boy, just like everybody else, wanted answers. And it was great. But, Rhaenys gave a great answer, which was, this is not my war to start. And plus, nobody wants to be a kinslayer in this world, as we will see as we get deeper into the episode. So I'm not mad at her. Like, it's upsetting in the moment, but when you really think about it, she was just kind of like, this is what you get for hanging around Black people. She said, this ain't my business. This ain't my fight. This is not my war. Y'all want to fight and declare war? Do that on your own time, okay?
She was hanging around Vayman way too long. He was just like calling a spade, calling it how it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was happening. So right after that, it looked like Rhaenys was about to dip before Rhaenyra went into premature labor. And my question is like, was she just about to go back to Driftmark and what, just chill? With the war about to pop off? Like,
wait for the banners to be called.
Huh?
Wait for the banners to be called.
Yeah, but like, she gonna wait for all the dragons to descend on Driftmark at one time, talking about you got to choose a side. They're gonna make her choose a side.
They are. I think that was also her flexing and being like, I'm gonna go back. Y'all figure out what y'all trying to do, and then I'm gonna decide what I want to do, kind of thing. Because we know the Greens reacted very differently to Rhaenys than the Blacks do, right? The Greens tried to lock her up, force her into something, take her prisoner, do all these things. And Rhaenyra, on the other hand, is just kind of like, hey, when you choose, you choose. Like, let me know what's up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it.
I don't think she made up her mind yet. I think that's
no. She definitely didn't. But I was just more so like, what did you expect to happen after now both sides know that you're not choosing sides? They're going to come after you. And not in like a negative way, but just like, you're going to keep campaigning to get you on their side. So is that what she wanted, I guess, was to like see who can make the best offer? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like,
but also
choice by leaving Dragonstone, what did she think was going to happen?
Yeah. But also she drops the point of like, hey, me and my mans is a team, right? So I got to talk to him first and figure out what we are going to do. And then you can have your answer. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, I think that was the major thing as well, too. Is like,
she got around it.
She's like, before we make this big purchase, let me ask my man.
But also, like, patriarchal society is working in her favor. She's like, that's not my decision to make. He owns the Navy, not me.
The Navy, that's true. He commands the Navy. And once again, we are here saying Corlys is not dead, y'all. Like, he can still make decisions. He is not dead.
Yeah, so Daemon died for no reason, but we won't talk about that this episode. Do we think that Rhaenyra going into premature labor was actually caused by like the emotional toll of hearing all this news, hearing that her dad died and that her half brother usurped her throne?
I think it was part of it. I think that stress of like, dang, my ex-best friend she really did the thing. Like, that we were not expecting. No, let me not say not expecting. That's my okay. Before all that, that's my thing too. Is like, did y'all really not expect Otto to have a plan in place? Like, did we not have a backup plan here in case things did not go the way we thought it was going to go?
That's a great point. I do think they should have been planning for it for a while. I can understand them not knowing how bad her father was until they got there. In the episode beforehand.
Oh, and Viserys?
Viserys. And then the way they ended, her and Alicent, they were cool buddies, right? Like, so after leaving that, Rhaenyra doesn't really have a reason to think that Alicent was going to double cross her.
She does not. But
Daemon should have been thinking about Otto. Like, Otto was Daemon.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Daemon didn't have, just like how Otto had the plan, like, oh, Viserys is dead. Cool. So Lannister, here's what you're going to do. So here's what you're going to do. I'm surprised that Daemon didn't have that. Well, in a sense, I guess he kind of did, because he's been like holding on to those eggs and doing those things and reading all those books from Pentos. So maybe he's been low key gearing up, but the fact that they didn't have like a straight out plan of how they were going to make sure they kept the succession in place is the weird thing to me.
It's super rare that they didn't make sure they had loyal people at court. Like, for real. Like, all right, when y'all get the news, yet you got to come to me. Like, I'm not expecting it to come from Otto or Alicent, somebody else, like something like that. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to call out about this scene is that this is in my opinion, a clear callback to Rhaenyra's mom, Emma, saying that, I think you put this in here, saying the birthing bed is a battlefield.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra feeling, has to feel betrayed that her body, by her body, that all this is happening. Do you want to talk about
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because remember when Rhaenyra's young, that's one of her greatest fears. I don't want to be stuck in these towers just giving birth to princes and princesses and, not being active, not doing anything. And when the moment is here, it is time to now take your crown, take the throne and do all these things, but you're being usurped. There's a war on the, edge of breaking out. And here you are locked in your chambers because you are about to give birth. And so I can only imagine that she feels extremely betrayed, that her worst fear is coming past. And not only that, but now she knows that this is not going to be a successful birth.
Yeah.
So it's all of these things happening and she has like no control over it. And I feel so terrible for her in that moment. I'm just like, dang, this is tough. A tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it really is. Women, man, we do it all. So as Rhaenyra is having what's probably the worst labor ever for child number 6, instead of being by her side, Daemon is making plans for the protection of Dragonstone and the gathering of allies. Rhaenyra tells Jace no decisions are to be made without her, but Daemon is on a roll and isn't stopping. After giving Jace a lesson on loyalty, Daemon goes to Rhaenyra after she's done laboring to realize the baby girl, she finally had a girl, is stillborn. At the funeral / cremation for baby Visenya, which they don't say in the show, but that is the baby's name.
They don't even say it's a girl.
Huh?
They don't even say it's a girl.
They don't even say it's a girl, but it's a girl, and her name was Visenya.
Yeah. So for Fire and Blood, y'all, it's a girl.
Okay. Sir Eric with an E, I think. Who knows? The good one, not the. Okay, I shouldn't say the good one. The one who didn't want Aegon to be king shows up to swear his loyalty to Queen Rhaenyra, and as an act of good faith, brings Viserys' crown, which he obviously stole. What a dude. Daemon places the crown on Rhaenyra's head, announces her as queen, and everyone in attendance except for Rhaenys kneels. So let's dig into this. So Daemon is absent during the labor, and we know that Daemon, has been to other labors before. He was in the room with Lena when she was having her last one, or trying to have her last one. How did you read this? Did you read this as like Daemon being selfish and just wanting to plan the war? Or I don't know if it's selfish is the right word, or just like he was more focused on making sure the protection and the allying was going well versus him not wanting to be in the room because it was obviously difficult labor and he had already experienced that. What are your thoughts?
I took it as he felt like he could best serve Rhaenyra by overseeing the plans. Rather than being in the room, which is unfortunate because she literally calls out his name and calls out his name. Yeah. And everybody's like, "You want to go check on your girl? Like, you want to? She looking for you." And instead of going by her side, I think he felt like the best way he could serve her was by staying there in the War Council, which is both selfish, but I could see how he feels like this is the heroic thing, right? So that when she does get past this thing, we're ready to go, and part of this too reminded me of, and Daemon wasn't even here for this, but like after she had Joffrey and Alicent's like, I want to see the baby. And she literally is like, dress me, y'all, clean me up. I'm walking over there. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he knows that story, but we've kind of been trained to understand that she's a bad bee, man, and she gonna birth this baby and come back and do what she got to do. So I think he's kind of almost expecting that as well a little bit.
Yeah, I at first thought the same as you, that he was just doing what maybe he thought was best for everyone at that point in time, until she called him and he ignored her. Like, it takes nothing to be like, I'll be back in 5 minutes, to like go check on her and then be like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff to make sure that we're not wasting any time. You good? Like, do you need me? Because I could put somebody else in charge. Like, just checking in.
Yeah. would have been the decent human thing to do.
And that's why I think that it was like either some selfishness or some like trauma, like a trauma response where he just couldn't go in the room.
Oh yeah, I think that definitely plays a role in it for sure. Thinking about Lena and what she went through and witnessing that and then how that ended. So I definitely understand that for sure.
Yeah. Because this is so Damon obviously has a reaction to learning that their child is stillborn. Of course, in addition to Rhaenyra as well, is a very sad scene of her, birthing the baby, everyone realizing the baby was stillborn. At first, like the baby like kind of fell on its head a little bit when it like fell out.
And tough scene.
It was really bad. And I was listening to another podcast on it, and someone made a good point that like we are so desensitized to seeing people get killed in like a million different ways, getting beheaded, yada, yada, yada. But to see difficult births on screen is something that like gets a reaction out of the audience. And it's the most natural thing that happens all the time.
I literally was like, ooh. I was like, can we fast forward this? Like, this is a lot.
It was. I forced myself to watch it though. I was like, Tamara, you're a woman. You're going to watch this. Okay. It
was a tough one. They showed the little baby foot and I was just like,
it was bad.
It was tough. But again, this is, their battlefield. This part of their battlefield. So
it is.
I'm glad they had that in there. I'm glad they didn't take it out. I'm glad they didn't shy away from it. We've seen a variety of births. And we've seen how they can go right and how they can go wrong. And so I'm glad they left it in. I'm glad they had it in there.
Same. I think what I wanted to call out here, though, is like, of course, Rhaenyra going through that, she's going to have like the utmost sadness and emotional response to losing a child in that way. What struck me as being a little profound was Damon. Like Damon also had an emotional response to it. I don't know, they showed him walking in and like seeing what happened. And then they see him like off by himself on the beach, kind of processing and like falling to his knees and stuff. And that stood out to me because this is his 5th child. He has 2 girls already, 2 boys. He has his heirs if he needs them. He has like plenty of spares and all that stuff. But he still had this emotional response to losing a child. And it just stuck out to me that him and Viserys care about their children so much.
Oh, deeply. Absolutely. 100%. They understand legacy, That's
yeah, definitely. So this is Damon's like 2nd child that he's lost, right? So,
good point.
Yeah. So, Rhaenyra in the scene right afterwards, as they're cremating little Visenya, and Eric comes up with the crown that he stole, which is wild because the last time we saw that crown, it was on Viserys' rotting body.
Yeah. So it's like, how, sir? How do we pull this off?
He didn't kill any of the Quiet Sisters in order to get it, but that would be pretty dark.
It's possible.
But I mean, like, if you were going to like make your way to Dragonstone and like prove yourself, that's the way to do it.
You better come with something.
They didn't even question it. They said, "Oh, you got this? Come on, buddy. You good.
You better come with something." Absolutely. He said, "I come in peace, my brothers. I come in peace. I have Viserys' crown," which is important to note, right? Because now this is the crown that's being passed on to Rhaenyra, whereas Aegon is wearing Aegon the Conqueror's crown, right? And is wielding Black Sister. No. I can't remember what Aegon's sword, but he has Aegon's sword and all that. So you can see where they're kind of saying like, hey, Rhaenyra is more aligned with her father. Aegon, we're trying to conquer. We are forcing our way in here. This is how it's going down. Believe that this is the legitimate route type thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. So she becomes queen. And the one thing I wanted to note is that she becomes queen literally right after losing a child during birth.
Tough.
Similar to how she became heir right after her mother and brother died during childbirth.
Yeah.
And those parallels in the first and last episodes, like bookends almost. Yeah.
And that was supposed to be Viserys' first son. That was her first daughter.
That was her first daughter, yeah. A lot of parallels here. And then finally, Rhaenys when they zoomed out on the shot of everyone kneeling and you see Rhaenyra and Rhaenys still standing looking, I thought they were gonna like show like some sort of animosity between the two. And Rhaenyra was just like, yeah, all right, auntie or older cousin, whatever, like you good. Like I ain't stressing about you. But I feel like if Daemon wasn't kneeling and he saw that Rhaenys wasn't kneeling, he probably would have had something to say.
I don't know. Because I feel like in all the other scenes to follow, like he's not pressing the issue anymore. But maybe I feel like he would have shot her a look because that's what Damon does.
Yeah.
Damon likes to lean on walls and give us looks. So I think he would have at least gave her a look and been like questioning, like, why isn't she? But I think they know how important it is to get her on their side. Yeah. And they're just like, look, we ain't going to pressure you right now.
Not like what Allison did. She pretty much pressured her, right? That was the wrong way to go about that.
That was the wrong way. Yes, ma'am.
Good point. So at her first war council, Rhaenyra's first war council, everyone is taking stock of the situation. How many people do we have? Where are our allies? Yada, yada, yada. When Otto turns up to talk terms, they meet on that little bridge. He offers Rhaenyra and Daemon keep Dragonstone, with it going to Jace as her firstborn. Luke keeps Driftmark, like he could still be Lord of the Tides. Doesn't even mention Joffrey because F him, right?
Not a concern.
And then the other boys get places at court, with Aegon being Aegon's squire, being the king's squire, and Viserys being his cupbearer. Yeah. And everyone else that's on, Rhaenyra and Daemon's side will get a pardon. So basically, everybody gets some lands and some titles and some places at court, and everybody gets to go back to being one happy family. Daemon isn't having it at all. He's like, screw that. I'm about to send you back to your daughter with your penis in your mouth, basically.
Yep. He says it way more poetically. It was beautiful. Yeah. If I've ever heard an insult, that was a great one.
Daemon is so good for insults. We learned the Greens are also talking to key houses to get them on their side. Otto's last effort is to give Rhaenyra a page from a book we saw earlier in the season that she shared with Queen Alicent, and relays the message that Queen Alicent doesn't want any bloodshed. Rhaenyra plans to give an answer the next day. The first thing I want to call out is that the payment table lights up.
Yeah. Features that we didn't know.
Way more excited than I thought it was going to. I was like, snap, that's dope.
No, the painted table looked amazing when it lit up. And I was just like, dang, this just got, I forgot how to plug it in. Because we don't see it in Game of Thrones lit up in that kind of way. And I was like, okay, things that were lost.
Exactly. It made me sad. It made me excited. And then it instantly made me sad that knowledge didn't make it to Dany, basically, in Game of Thrones. And it makes me sad that other knowledge also didn't make it to Dany. I think that's like a visual representation of the Song of Ice and Fire never making it to in any event. You wanted to point out that they're back on the bridge, right?
Yes, they are back. So you guys remember after Daemon steals the egg, and Otto goes to him and is like, yo, give us our egg back. And Rhaenyra pops up on Cyrax. It feels like a mirror image of that scene in that episode. But now this time, Rhaenyra is on Daemon's side. Cyrax is on the opposite side of the bridge, and it's Rhaenyra walking up to Otto rather than walking up to Daemon, and is pressing him. And so I just love that we're back here in this place and things are so different 10, 15, 20 some odd years later or whatever it is, right? So I just love how the script has flipped. And you have here that when she does pull up on Otto, what does she do, T?
She walks up to him, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I legit thought she was going to slap him. And I feel like she could have got away with it. She, instead of slapping him, which she should have did, she ripped off his hand of the king pin. Ripped off his hand of the king pin, threw it over the bridge, and called him an effing liar, right? Or effing traitor. Called him an effing traitor. And I just love that, like, guttural, human, physical, like, reaction to having someone be in your face who is a legitimate traitor.
I have to say, I was shocked that the Kingsguard did not stop her or like intervene. I was just like, she could have sliced this man's neck off. Like y'all just let her run up on it.
Roasted. So
I'm just protect the hand. Is that the Kingsguard do not be out here doing their job. They are the Heimdalls of like the Game of Thrones.
I would have said the Hound.
Universe.
I would have said the Hound. F the king. F the hand. F everything. You know.
But at least up to that point, the Hound was doing his job. The Hound was out here slaughtering children and doing all types of things. So like, to me, at least he was doing his job. These dudes out here,
yeah,
they need to clean house. They need to fire all of them and clean house.
Yeah, very Heimdall-esque. That's sad.
I'm just saying.
Not Eric though. Eric.
I mean,
Eric. One of them is not derelict in his duties. Anyways, so I love that scene. Anything else about that scene?
Nah, that was it. That was a great scene though. I love seeing that. I love that they brought it back.
Yeah, it was a great scene. I would say I was thinking about it just real quick. You know, another thing from that scene was Daemon lying about like his girl Massaria being pregnant. You remember that?
Yes.
He has plenty of kids now. He ain't got to lie about it.
Yeah.
Married and all that.
He legit now.
Yes, he's legit with dragon heads and everything. So back at the Painted War table, all the men are advising war with Daemon leading the charge, but Rhaenyra is cautioning driving the realm into war. She doesn't want to rule over a kingdom of ash and bone, noting that her duty to the realm is to ensure peace and unity. Daemon and Rhaenyra get into a heated debate that they immediately make private by sending everyone away alone. Rhaenyra calls out that Daemon is just excited for war and brings up her duty regarding the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, which we learn Daemon has no idea about. He displays his frustration by choking Rhaenyra.
Yikes.
So this completely threw me out the episode, if I'm being honest.
Me too.
And it took a whole day for me to like finish processing it, because I think up until this point, yes, Daemon is a complicated character. Everyone's capable of depravity. That's one of his own lines. We've seen him on this arc of kind of like being like almost objectively bad to being a little like very, very nuanced to being like kind of good, but willing to do bad things in order to stay good and like support the good people, so to speak, which is like, all right, like I'm kind of feeling that. And then you also get this sense of like, he would never purposely hurt Rhaenyra, especially at this point in their relationship. And then you see him just straight off domestic violence, like strangle her because he's angry that he didn't know of a secret dream that his brother had that he doesn't respect anyway.
Yeah. It was a tough look for Daemon. It also took me out of the scene, and I felt like it went against his character. I didn't like it. I'm curious to know if this is something that was written in the script by the writers, or if this is something that... No, not in the book. I don't mean in the book. But I'm wondering if the writers of the show put this in. Was this led by the director, or was this Daemon like playing out different possibilities? And they were like, "Ooh, we like that one. Let's go with that." I'm curious to know who was behind that choice, because it doesn't feel like a choice that Daemon would make. Now, would he choke out Otto or somebody else or a messenger? Absolutely. But I don't feel like he would do something like that to Rhaenyra. And that part I did not like at all.
So I almost feel like, and tell me if I'm bugging with this. So remember when Jace came in and was like, you got to stop making plans. My mom said no. And Daemon was kind of like, keep making the plans. Jace, let me talk to you outside. Let me teach you a lesson. I didn't know how that was going to go down. I thought that could have went completely left. And that would have been more so to Daemon's character to be like, what you're not about to do is sit up here and disrespect me in front of everybody. Like, don't get it twisted. You're next in line, but you can't do nothing yet because you're too green around the ears. Sit back and watch and learn what we're doing, right? Like, I expected him to be a lot more stern with him, and he wasn't, quite honestly. Like, he was legitimately teaching him a lesson. And so, like, I expected Daemon to assert his authority with everyone except for Rhaenyra, honestly. Like, I don't know. But then, honestly, like, I thought about it and I was like, Daemon is a complicated character, obviously. And people, while it's been 20 years, like, he's in this space of getting what he's always wanted. And Rhaenyra is threatening to take that away from him, basically. And so when you're in a space, I am not condoning what he did. What I'm suggesting is I can understand the emotion behind it.
I would say, if anything, like you can see where the storm is brewing to make him act like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just lost a child. His woman, who's supposed to ascend to be queen, is being usurped by a dude who he's had beef with for the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, she's revealing this dream that Viserys had that he did not share with Daemon. And so once again, this is another example of how Daemon did not feel close to Viserys when he always wanted to, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see how things like that gathered up would send him over the edge a little bit. But to me, it still was not enough.
You don't manifest it in that way.
To lash out against Rhaenyra in that way, especially when she just lost a child. Like, I didn't like that. What I did like about the scene is how it sets up the way Daemon is handling all of this, right? Where he is like, we got to go to war. This is what we got to do. We've got dragons on our side. He's like, F Viserys and his dreams. That means nothing. We got dragons. It's dragons that made us kings, right? Not dreams. And that's his stance on everything. And it was the most interesting part to me. It was like when Rhaenyra was like, no, we need to think about what we're doing. I'm trying to hold the realm together, because obviously Aegon's prophecy is in her mind. Daemon is like, but aren't you angry? And she's like, just because I'm angry, I'm supposed to go to war. And I was like, you tell him, right? Because this whole season we've been fighting the patriarchy and all that stuff, right? So we see her being like, you need to chill out. Like, we can't just rush into all of this. We need to know exactly where we stand, where we're at, and what we need to do. And he's just like on 10. He's ready to go. Did those parts like stick out to you in any type of way? Like,
they did.
Or make you feel a way about Daemon?
I heard someone phrase it that like Daemon thought he was marrying a dragon like him, but in this episode he realized he might have married a dreamer like his brother, right? And that's something that really annoyed him about his brother.
Well, because when they were at the funeral at Driftmark, right, she's like, you're a dragon, I'm a dragon. We could be dragons together. If you're a bird, I'm a bird, right? The Notebook type stuff. I
saw that movie.
Oh, fine.
I know. It's
that's for another day. Whatever. I'll take my answer off the air. We'll talk about that off the air. Thank you.
I'm sorry I threw you off.
No, you're good. So there's this level of expectation where he thought that she was more like him, and now that the responsibility is on her, finally, it turns out she's a little bit more Viserys, a little less Daemon.
Yeah, and I think this is a beautiful way to show that there are rifts on the team, just like there was rifts on the Greens between Alicent and Otto, right? Alicent and Otto had similar goals. They had very different ways of wanting to go about it. Daemon and Rhaenyra have similar goals. They want her to be queen. They don't want her to be usurped. They want their rightful titles and everything, but they have very different ways. And not that Rhaenyra has made a decision at this point, but at least she's considering. They have different ways of like approaching the problem at hand. And then just in general, you also have here that like just how Alicent and Rhaenyra are approaching these situations differently.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what happens next?
So somewhere else on Dragonstone, Corlys wakes up with Rhaenys by his side. They have a candid conversation where Rhaenys calls him out for abandoning her. She's like, our kids died and you just dipped for 6 years? What the hell? She tells him that his brother Vaemond died trying to claim his seat. And Corlys hears all that. He's like, you know what? I'm I'm done trying to make a page for my name in the history books. Let's just chill and hang out with our grandkids. And Rhaenys is like, you can't do that because your grandchildren are part of this war. Like they're heirs to the throne and stuff. So we got to choose a side. Like, what do we want to do? And she basically tells him that she's warmed up to Rhaenyra's temperament as queen, recognizing her quest to do what's best for the realm and not what's best for herself. Lord Corlys and Prince Rhaenys officially joined the war, lending the entire Valyrian fleet to control the seas and Rhaenys and Meleys to patrol. Finally, they plan to send, the group plans to send Jace and Luke to the Eyrie, Winterfell, and Storm's End to secure the allegiance of the Arryns, Starks, and Baratheons. Before they leave, Rhaenyra makes the boys swear they won't incite or participate in any fighting. They are going as messengers only. In the Dragon Mount, we see Daemon sing a song for Vermithor, the currently unclaimed dragon that was once bonded with King Jaehaerys.
Mm-hmm. Lot happening.
Can't wait to get to this whole Daemon singing bit of it. Did Rhaenys' decision shock us?
It didn't shock me per se. But I love that she stood back and was taking the measure of Rhaenyra and like what she would do and how she would react. And she was like, in a room full of men who are ready to go to war, she kept her head cool. She is trying to do what is best for the realm, right? She's worried about what the future holds versus what we about to do right now. Everybody's like, let's burn this shit to the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, but there's something that needs to come after, which is kind of what was Rhaenyra, right? Dany? Whatever. Dany in Game of Thrones, that was her whole stance when everybody was like, you got dragons. Why are we not doing this? And she's like, she says the same thing. I don't want to be the queen of ashes. Like, I want to rule over these people. I want to build a new future going forward. Mm-hmm. And so I love that Rhaenys took her time in deciding. And I love that Corlys, although late, finally comes to this realization of like, dang, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I need to chill. Because Rhaenys this whole time has been like, I don't care that I'm not queen. Like, I'm okay. I made peace with that a long time ago. And it's him who's been using it as this fake motivation of like, this is why we need to do all these things. It's like, no, it's your own ambition. Mm-hmm. Did it shock you?
It shocked me a little bit that she chose that moment to do it, I guess. But it makes sense. Again, everything you said, I don't want to repeat it. But again, her just sitting back and watching was obviously the way to approach it. And I wonder if, similar to when we had the conversation of Rhaenyra understanding how to get through to Daemon that Viserys just could not figure out, I wonder if Rhaenyra also understood that the way to get Rhaenys on her side was to just let Rhaenys do her thing, and she'll come around eventually. Like, just let me just do what I'm going to do. I don't know if Rhaenyra was like, I'm going to prove to Rhaenys or whatever, but like just forcing Rhaenys into it is not the way to go about it. She knows that because she's a dragon. Alicent would never think about that because she's not a dragon.
And she don't know.
Don't know.
Outsider.
Are we officially done with the Triarchy?
I'm Viserys.
I'm tired of them.
I'm Viserys. Oh, sir, we're at war with the Triarchy. Didn't we win that war years ago? That's me. That's me. I've been done with it since the crab feeder died. So I don't want to hear Triarchy ever again in this or any other series, honestly. I
really don't. I feel like this is the Triarchy in my head has turned into like Mephisto and like the I don't want to hear it. Like, just
yes, I'm done with it.
So the other part that happened here, one of the other parts that happened here is that, Jace kind of volunteers to like step up and do their part in all of this, and volunteers him and his brother to be messengers to try to secure the allegiance of the Arryns, the Starks, and the Baratheons. If you were Rhaenyra, would you send them? Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, I wouldn't. But you would.
I don't think she had a choice. Who else do you send? You can't send. You don't want to do Ravens because this is something that needs to be done in person. You don't want to send Daemon because Daemon ready to burn stuff down anyway. So
I would have sent Rhaenys to Winterfell and the Vale, and I would send Jace and Luke together to Storm's End.
Rainey's got to look over the gullet or whatever that
You
thing
have to
was
do that right
called.
away. That could have waited a day.
I don't know. Because they just won that war, or who knows? I don't know what
That's a good
happened with the
point.
hierarchy. But there needed to be a presence there. So to me, it's like you send the king, well, not the king, you send the princes, right? The next in line, essentially. I think where she messed up and where she should have been paying attention was Otto said we sent people over to these folks with terms and conditions, and she did not think about that. So now you sending your kids into these situations with nothing to offer.
Maybe she did because she told them not to fight.
But you didn't send them with any offers. So when he gets to Storm's End, what does Baratheon say? He says, well, who's going to marry my daughters?
And
What do you have to offer?
Luke should have been like Joffrey.
She took everything for granted because she thought that people were going to stand on their word or their daddy's word. Absolutely not. You walk up in there and you say, listen, if you join my side, I can provide you with this, that, and the third. She had nothing to offer.
And it shows how out of touch she is with the realm also, because she should have known, or somebody on her team should have known, that Lord Baratheon was illiterate.
I mean, I guess. I mean, but even with that, it's like, what's his name? That's not Luke's fault. Luke handed it to somebody.
No, it's not Luke's fault. But I do think that there needs to be people in the king's court that understands how to approach the lords of these houses, right?
I guess.
In addition to coming with an offer, right? I feel like Maester, who was the Stark Maester, who was teaching Bran and everybody, he would have known. He would have been like, oh, by the way, don't hand him nothing to read. You got to give it to the Maester. He would have known.
But even if that's the case, that wasn't on Luke.
No,
Luke
it wasn't on Luke.
Yeah.
That's on Rhaenyra is what I'm calling it.
I don't think that's on her either. Because
in my opinion, she hasn't been working hard enough to understand the lords of the realm
that I agree with.
Becoming queen of. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
But to me, that's that knight's fault or whoever it is that didn't be like, where's the maester at? You know what I'm saying? Because regardless, even if Rhaenyra knew that, what does that change? That's what I think.
Yeah.
The problem was
that's yes.
The problem was she didn't train up Luke to be like, hey, she tried, and here's where she didn't understand, right? She knew enough to be like, Lord Baratheon is proud, but he'll be happy to have a prince. He don't care about that. He want to elevate his position. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Aemon shows up and he's like, oh, well, your daughter can marry so-and-so and whatever. You know what I'm saying? She didn't. Probably. She didn't have anything to offer. She's just like, oh, they swore their fealty. It'll be okay. And it's like, no, girl.
No. Especially the fact that people in the realm see your sons as bastards.
Boy, when Aemon said Lord Strong, I almost fell on my chair because I was like, not in public. No. It's one thing to do it at a family dinner, but not in public. Yeah. We in mixed company here. What are you doing?
Not everybody in the realm who don't even go to King's. Like, if you don't go to King's Landing, you don't see the boys. You don't. Right. You might hear.
You'll hear rumors.
Oh, like, I don't think they're Laenors or whatever. They don't look like him. But when you see Luke show up and you have Aemon being like Lord Strong, I know Lord Baratheon was like, oh,
that's rough. You want to talk about fathers? That was tough. But I think Rhaenyra set her sons up for failure, especially Luke, who's not confident in himself already. Because then when Lord Baratheon's like, boy, get out my hall, he's like, okay, bye.
Nice seeing you. Okay, we'll get to that in a hot second.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about this piece of the episode was, did we see Daemon try to bond with another dragon?
It felt like it. I don't know what was happening and what all that was about, but it sure felt like it. He said we getting all these
That got me very excited because there's nowhere, and I, did a little bit of research. In my research, I listened to other podcasts where other people has done actual research. There's nowhere that suggests that you can bond with multiple dragons at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just one at a time. But there's something about the way they shot that, like the eyes kind of like melting into each other.
Yeah.
That makes it seem like, and I think it's believable too. We know that Daemon has been digging into all the Valyrian texts and everything like that. If he learned a song that helps him bond with multiple dragons, that would be dope.
Do you want to build a snowman? That was the translation. Because do you want to burn King's Landing?
Yeah, I was thinking about a song I had to sing in elementary school, and I don't remember what the song was all the way about, but I know the end was and you and you and you and you, and I was just like, Damon's just trying to get all the dragons. You come on down, you come on down,
all of them. But we also earlier in the episode when we were watching Rhaenyra give birth, we're seeing cuts of Cyrax screaming as she's screaming too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm very interested to see what this was all about, what was happening. I think there's someone out there in this world who translates the Valyrian in these episodes and stuff. So I gotta look that up and see what this song was about.
I should have looked it up.
I'm curious to know what he was actually saying in this song.
Yeah, me too. But I think, to your point, them cutting Rhaenyra's birth or Visenya's birth with what's the dragon's name? Cyrax? Cyrax?
Mm-hmm.
With Cyrax screaming, kind of like showing that they feel each other, right? Even if they're not like next to each other, they feel each other. Then you have this scene of like Daemon and this new dragon like getting to know each other at the minimum, right? Like they're getting to know each other. Let's get into this last scene because dragons and the bonds with their riders is going to be exceptionally important for this scene coming up. So Luke lands in Storm's End, as we mentioned before, during a storm, surprise, surprise, and finds Vhagar there in the courtyard, parked in the side of the parking lot, meaning Aemon is around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as he tries to treat with Lord Baratheon, things go sideways. As we learn, Aemon has already offered marriage to one of Lord Baratheon's daughters. Seeing a lost cause, Luke's like, all right, I'm out. He goes to leave, but before he can, Aemon insists he take out his own eye as recompense for taking out his. Baratheon stops what could be a bloodbath, and Luke leaves. As Luke is trying to navigate through the storm on Arax, my bad. Aemon gives chase on Vhagar. Arax takes matters into his own hands by sending a burst of fire in Vhagar's direction against Luke's orders. Similarly, against Aemon's orders, Vhagar attacks Luke and Arax by swallowing them whole. In the last scene, we see Daemon give the news of Luke's death to Rhaenyra. So before we go any further, glasses up. We should have did this for Visenya. So for Visenya, to Luke or Lucerys, and to Arax, all gone way too soon.
Way too soon. Oh, man. Yes.
How shocking was this?
First of all, the whole chase had me on edge, right? Because I'm watching it. Okay, let me bring it back.
Yeah.
Right, rewind. When Luke lands at Storm's End, and it's like lightning, thunder, Vhagar's silhouette, I said, "Damn,
this is about to get real."
Because the first thing is, I forgot how big Vhagar was. The second thing was, Aemon done pull up to the party. He already here, right? So that already is letting us know. Now, when they go on this chase, I'm like, dang, Luke. I'm like, all right, I know you small, but you agile. You got the quickness. Let's get it. So as he's flying through like all the cracks and everything like that, I'm like, all right, we might be okay. When he hit that clearing, I said, it's over. We done. It's over. I was But even before that, because you know me, we were talking about this before. I was like, man, I think somebody's gonna die in this last
Yeah.
episode. I know who it was gonna be, but I thought somebody's gonna die. When Luke was getting all those extra scenes, I said, it's Luke. It's Luke. As soon as they were like, he was like, I don't know if I want to be, Lord of Driftmark. It's too much. I swear, Mom, it's gonna be okay. I said, it's Luke. It's Luke. And so once he hit that clearing, I said, it's over. It was shocking just because in the way it happened. But I also knew it was coming because as soon as Arax defies him and lets out that burst of fire on Vhagar, I was like, man, Vhagar not gonna let this go.
The thing about that specific point is that, like, and it's sad because Arax is just a teenager, just like Luke, right? And for a second there, you saw that Arax and Luke were able to get away by like flying low in between like the cliffs, where obviously Vhagar is too big to fit. So it's like, all right, they got away. We didn't see this particular point in time, but it looked like Arax doubled back to get that shot at Vhagar.
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Possibly, because I feel like they were gone.
Yeah.
Like it was done. So why did he come back to do the, like it feels like a teenager just being like, ha, like
right. What we do.
Like, I am a battle-hardened war veteran. What you're not about to do is set off fireworks on 4th of July and not have me react like I'm on the battlefield. Okay.
Yeah. So what we do know is that it was Arax's choice, right, to do that, because the whole time Luke is like, obey me. No, Arax, obey me, follow me, and so we know that Arax took it upon himself to do this. Mm-hmm. So it seems like these dragons want to fight just as much as everybody else does. And unfortunately, Arax picked the wrong one, or the right one, I guess, depending how you want to look at it.
I rewound that like chomp like 7 times. I was just like, wait, because every time I needed to look at it from look at a different thing. Look at Luke's reaction when Vhagar pops up and he kind of just braces for it. I look at Aemon's reaction. He's kind of like, no, like, no, what did you do? I was really curious as to if they could hear each other losing control of their dragons.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I think we'll kind of get a hint of the answer
in 2 years.
In 2 years, when Aemon has to go home and be like, see, what had happened was, Ma.
I have other questions though, because they were above the clouds. Did anyone see? Someone had to see what happened, right?
I think in the books that people do see, like there's accounts of it.
Yeah.
We just don't know how they're going to translate that into the show.
Right. But in any event, someone had to see it because someone had to send a raven probably to Daemon, who then told Rhaenyra. And my question is did whoever did that also send ravens to King's Landing so they know before Aemon even gets there? Like, I have so many questions about how the news of this is even going to spread.
Find out in 2 years.
Yeah, Jace's not going to be back for a while. Is Jace going to find out while he's at Winterfell?
Find out in 2 years.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
We don't know. Also, I want to point out Aemon's sapphire eye. That was boss.
That was boss. That was dope.
When he took that eye patch out, I said, ooh, bling, bling. Every time I come around your city, bling, bling. I was like, nice. He said, now take out your eye. Luke said, absolutely not.
No.
I'll see you later.
Luke should have been like, why are you tripping? You got a dragon.
What happened to that?
What happened to that?
Aemon said, I ain't never forgot. He says on site every time.
I mean,
Aemon said it's on site every time. We're doing this at family dinners. We're doing this in public. Every time I run into you, it's a problem.
It's always going to be a problem.
I'm not mad at him, honestly.
So dragons are sentient beings. Like you're
Yeah.
riding a nuclear bomb who have brains of their own. And this definitely took me back to the episode where Viserys was in front of that bonfire during the hunt talking to Alicent, and he was talking about how dragons are dangerous, basically. We never get a distinct reason why Viserys stopped writing Baelor. Which one is the dragon? Baelor, right?
I think Balon.
Balon is a dragon, so his son was Baelor.
I don't know. Yeah, something
Whatever.
like that.
He stopped writing the dragon he was writing. Or I don't know if the dragon died and he decided to stop writing dragons at some point.
After that. Yeah.
After that. And I wonder if this is it. Like if he sensed or just didn't like the fact that he was writing a nuclear bomb with a brain and that can make decisions of its own, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I also thought of when he was talking to Rhaenyra and he was like, you know, us thinking that we have control over these dragons is just a farce. Like, it's not. It's kind of like power resides where you think it does, right? And it's like we think we're in control of these animals, but absolutely not.
They know, and they know who's really in control.
Yeah, and that's what we see when we try to tame wild animals, right? They could just lose it at any second, and there's no real, actual, true control there. And so I think more than anything, Viserys understood the true power of these dragons and was just like, oh, I can't mess with this. Like, I'm done. I did what I was supposed to do. I got my crown. I'm good. I don't need to claim no other dragons. I'm Gucci. I'm chilling. And so that was kind of my whole read on everything, especially when it comes to Viserys. But yeah, these dragons are absolutely sentient beings. They are itching and ready for war. And I mean, in all honesty, like that's what they're built for. They're not built to be vacationing on Driftmark and vacationing on Dragonstone. Like they are built to be out here doing the damn thing. So the fact that both of these dragon riders lose control of their dragons, but I also think it speaks to their youth, right? Is that something that would happen with Rhaenys? I doubt it.
Is it something that would have happened if Lena was riding Vagar? I guess is like a more direct comparison, right? So you have the same, and
I highly doubt that. So
well, Lena probably wouldn't have done the chase just to begin
not
with.
at all.
It's like playing like rough with your dog and your dog not understanding when playtime is over.
It's all fun and games until somebody get hurt.
Exactly.
Or eaten.
Yeah.
So yeah. That was who do you think was at fault?
Aemond.
Yeah.
Aemond shouldn't have chased him. And it's because of what I just said. Like to assume you have that much control over a nuclear bomb and that the dragon is going to just know that you're playing and not serious was I think a child's mistake, you know?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Baratheon was like, "Take this fight outside, please, y'all."
And they did.
They did. Aemon messed up, and he knows it immediately.
He's a kinslayer now, which is like the worst thing you can be in this world. Is
especially
like
before the actual war starts.
Someone who kills a family member. He killed his nephew, and it looks like he did it on purpose, even though we up there know that he didn't. I wonder how if Lord Baratheon is going to change his mind based off of this new information.
I doubt it.
Me too. If it was a Stark, though, he would. The Stark would. They'd be like, "What? No."
Because you know, Alicent was like, "Do not touch nobody if you run into them. Don't you do nothing." And now he got to go home and he got to explain what he had did. Tough times.
I know Alice and Otto are going to be like, "You did what? You did what?" Okay, so that was the end of the episode. Unfortunately, Luke dies, and then we cut straight to Daemon telling Rhaenyra. You know, there's no dialogue, but we obviously see that's what's happening. And Rhaenyra kind of like, you know, we see her back and we see her like stumble a little bit, like obviously again taking another emotional toll. But when she stands up and she gets her strength beneath her and she turns around, her face just says Dracarys. Like that's what it said on her face, and you know she's out for blood. Um,
Boy.
and that is the way the season ends. No trailer for the next episode or anything like that, which is
Give
very
Emma Darcy her Emmy for just that one scene. Just the turnaround and looking straight. Oh, because I felt it, boy. I said, we
yeah,
in it
you
now.
know exactly what she's feeling.
We in it now.
Was the ending of the season satisfying?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
For me,
I
it was.
feel like it's left me with all the Dragon Ball Z questions, but I guess that means it's good, right?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely satisfying, just in terms of, um, it wrapped up what it needed to wrap up. We've got all these. I will say that I think a great show is something that sucks you in, and at every twist and turn, you're just like, man, why'd they do this? Why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we go there? Because it shows that you are now immersed into the world and immersed into the story. And those were all the things that were going on in my mind. I was like, where did we go wrong? Why can we not do this? Does Rhaenyra feel guilty because maybe she's like, we should have sent the Ravens, or we should have just followed Damon's plan and just burned everything down to the ground? Like, I'm sure all those things are running through her. And so I felt like the ending was satisfying.
She lost 2 kids in 2 days.
It was tough.
To your point about getting us like enraptured, so Lawrence, friend of the pod, who you all met on our Rings of Power season finale a week or 2 ago, he called me today and he's like, so did you rewatch? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, any new revelations since you rewatched? And I was like, no. And then he was like, wait, like, so we just got to wait a year? And I was like, honey, we're probably going to be waiting like 2 years. He was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, he had a physical reaction to not having anything to watch.
Yeah. I
was like, we are so spoiled.
It's going to be a hard boy. It's going to be hard.
He's like, we never waited that long. I was like, season 7 and season 8 of Game of Thrones was definitely about 1.5 years, 2 years apart.
Yeah, that was a while.
I don't remember that. And I was like, it was fine.
That was a while.
Final question. After what we've witnessed throughout the season, are you team green or team black?
Black. No hesitation. Black.
Always bet on black.
I always bet on black. I'm ready to see Rhaenyra tear this up. I'm ready for her to burn it down. Let's be queen of the ashes. You know what? Sometimes you gotta be like, let's be queen of the ashes. Let's do it.
Listen.
I'm curious because, I mean, I love that through the episode too. They definitely do a count of like who's got dragons and who don't. Mm-hmm. And I believe Team Black has got 13.
13. Well, 12 now.
12 now. And then Team Green has 3.
3.
I believe.
They got Vhagar, which is huge. So.
And a point that somebody brought up was, why did they not try to bind Jake and Luke to
an older dragon?
Jace and Luke to older dragons, because Varamoth was there. There's another older dragon there too.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other ones flying around and stuff, and they were like,
why doesn't Rhaena have sea smoke? Like, Rhaena still don't have a dragon. That don't make no sense.
Well, you gotta find sea smoke first. That's the question.
Sea smoke is on Driftmark. They said it in the episode.
Yeah, but you got flying around where? Who knows? You gotta lock them down.
Other dragons. Get on me.
They could have. And then do what? You gonna be sea smoke? Come on with me, like.
And like do whatever Aemon did.
You gotta do a whole journey and stuff. Aemon lucked up. Because Vhagar was there. But I mean, they could have been like, hey, let's go.
They could have what's his name? I don't know. None of these
Varamoth. Something.
Varamoth.
Varamoth.
I'm not drunk.
Varamoth is alcohol. Vermithor.
Vermithor was there chilling. Rhaena could have got Vermithor.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't know, which is, to me, one of the downfalls of the show is like, we jump around so much is that we don't get these moments in between. Yeah. Baela and Rhaena have no lines in this show. in this
She offered
episode.
Rhaenyra wine. Baylor offered her wine.
They have no lines in this episode. So it's like
Rhaena with her locks that don't look right.
I'm tired. I'm tired of them doing these black people hair like this. I'm really upset. But anyways, they say nothing, and so we're just left to kind of wonder, like, where do y'all stand on all this? How do y'all feel on all this? Because at the end of the day, right, everybody who's got dragons being called into war, whether they like it or not, which is what we see with Luke and Jace, which is like, I don't care if y'all ready. Y'all got dragons. We gotta go. So
it was nice to see Rhaenyra call them over to the war table to like include them, the girls.
She tried. And then it's also like we miss what is Daemon's relationship with Jason Luke to begin with. So they kind of give a little thing here where, you know, he's like, hey, let me give you a lesson about loyalty. But we don't understand what their relationship actually is, because we see Jace be like, hey, Uncle Day Day, I don't know. Daddy Day Day? I don't know. Uncle Daddy, listen. Uncle Daddy, listen. Hey, Mom said don't do nothing. So we don't even know what their relationship is in all of these years that have passed. So
yeah,
to me, that was the thing that left me wanting more. It's just like, dang.
Yeah. Well, that's House of the Dragon.
Did you say if you were Team Black or Green or not?
I'm always betting on Team Black.
Okay,
the Black Queen, always betting on Team Black. It's not even a question. Everything that you said, and I honestly think the show is doing a lot to try to put way more nuance to the characters than is in the books, obviously, to give Alicent more nuance and everyone more nuance. But I think by the end of the season, we're supposed to want to root for the Blacks. I think that's what they're setting up.
You gotta keep people flip flopping. Who knows what season 2 is going to do?
But you don't end on that note if you intend everybody to root for the Greens.
Season 2, we don't know.
I mean, by the end of season 1, like, I think they want us to be rooting for the Blacks.
The Blacks, yeah, that's where they want to steer us.
Like, who knows how it's going to turn? But yeah.
Fair enough.
Speaking of rooting for, do you have an MVP for this episode?
This was tough. Dang, this was tough. I'm gonna let you go first. Circle back to me.
I think the MVP is Daemon.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because at the end of the day, while he did lose a child, as Rhaenyra did, as you know, their family lost a future family member, by the end of the episode, he's getting exactly what he wants. He's getting the dragon wife that's going to like go to war with him.
Fair.
So yeah, so him. I mean, it was slim pickings for this episode, honestly.
Slim pickings.
Slim pickings. So Daemon, I mean, I briefly considered Aemon, but he didn't want that outcome, even though it kind of works. It doesn't really even work in his favor, honestly, because it forces them into war when they have less dragons on the other side. I think Alice and Otto are very specifically trying to avoid war because they know they have less dragons.
I think Alicent's trying to avoid war. I don't know about Otto, but...
You don't think... And that's the thing that strikes me weird. Otto is not counting dragons, which is like, why are you not counting them?
Or I'll put it this way. Otto's trying to avoid war, but he was trying to do it differently. Right. He was like, just kill them all.
Yeah.
Right? Where Alicent's like, nah, we got some of them terms. Although they're barely in this episode, I'm going to say the Greens were the winners, just because although this is not what they wanted, there's a dragon off the board.
A baby dragon, yes.
There's still a dragon nonetheless. Baby or not.
More importantly, there's a rider off the board. I think that's slightly more important than the baby dragon.
I guess to me it's one and the same, but I understand. Yeah, so whatever. There's a dragon and there's a rider off the board. Mm-hmm. And also they've clearly won Storm's End. Storm's End is on their side, whereas with Rhaenyra, we still don't know who's on her side just yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna rock with Team Green. Came out slightly on top, not by much, but slightly.
All right. I don't have any rebuttal to that.
That's my choice, and I'm sticking to it.
Do it.
Any last words on the season as we wrap up?
I can't wait for it to come back out. I think a lot of people are tracking that it should come out in 2024 at some point.
Yikes. I think they start filming in like March, April, May-ish next year.
Yeah. They usually start filming in like the spring of some sort. So
could be a while.
I think we are. I'm trying to Google it really quickly, and I'm not getting anything. So I want to say like 2024, which is so far away. Nessa, we have to wait for Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, Bridgerton. All that came out this year. Bridgerton feels like it came out like 3 years ago at this point.
It does.
Came out in March. Oh, we have to wait so long for these things. I mean, at least I get The Crown in 2 weeks, which is nice.
It's gonna be tough seasons. It's gonna be tough seasons.
What are we gonna do?
We'll have plenty of Marvel to fill in between though.
Yeah. Secret Invasion's coming out. That'll be something. Okay, I'm back on it. All right, we're good. You want to take us out or give us your final thoughts?
Yes. Well, guys, it's been amazing covering House of the Dragons. We have come to the end of everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the season. I hope you guys enjoyed us covering this season. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow us. We are on Instagram and TikTok at @casualfangirls_. We are on YouTube at Casual Fangirls. It's been an amazing ride, y'all. And we'll be back with more content because there are plenty of movies, shows, and everything else coming out. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Look after us. And we'll be seeing y'all. I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. Gods be good. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.